Hello and welcome to Somerset News Network. In the last video I was talking about Wat Tyler and Rebecca. Well, I've done some research. Now this is my old school socialist teaching, trying to make us into socialists, trying to say that the people have power and we should all join unions and all be socialist and all the rest of it. We're now using this knowledge against the tyranny of Starmer and his socialist government. Irony, I think. Now, Wat Tyler, Essex, 1381. The people were being taxed. They put a 4p tax on everybody. This is what I've been reading up this morning. And the peasants didn't like it. So you had the Peasants' Revolt. And they met, and Wat Tyler and the king, and that was Richard II. And he was only 14 years old at the time. Richard agreed with it, and they thought they were fine. But what happened was Wat Tyler was killed by one of the king's men. But they were fighting for their rights and liberties, which we've always done. We fought about it. The barons fought for our rights against King John. They didn't like the way King John was taxing the country. So they went to Runnymede and met the king. And they say they forced the king to sign the Magna Carta in 1215. Because of that, in 1297, they reintroduced the Magna Carta freely in Parliament. That was the basics of our human rights, our common law rights. The common law was said to have been written down by Alfred the Great. He was said to have gone around the country and found out what the common law was throughout the country to bring it together. Now, Wat Tyler was the leaders of the Peasants' Revolt against Richard II. It's still the idea that the workers have got the control, have got the power against the tyrannical government. My personal view is yes, there needs to be a balance. But you've got to have a boss and you've got to have a worker. You all can't be bosses. You know, the old adage, too many Indians and too many chiefs and not enough Indians and all that sort of thing. But then I thought, well, how did they come up with these ideas? And it was the Peasants' Revolt was linked to John Bull, who was a preacher and wanted reforms. So it's all linked together. Then we come to the Rebecca riots. Now I was trying to find out why it was called the Rebecca riots, because I never heard of a surname. It was just the Welsh farmers rioted. What they did is they dressed as women and they attacked the toll keepers because they couldn't afford the tolls to go and get food or go to the market or to get the grain to plant for the next season. Corn laws were also introduced at this time, around about 1834, 1840. Now we'd had the Napoleonic Wars, end of the 1700s, going up to 1815, which was the Battle of Waterloo. Now, after that, the government needed money. It spent all its money on fighting the French, so the people had to be taxed. They tried to tax the Americans. Lord North taxed the Americans on tobacco, on cotton, on sugar, which they called molasses at that stage. And he also put a barrack tax on the Americans to house our troops in America. That led to 1773 and the War of Independence, the tyranny of a British government. That meant we lost America. But let's get back to Rebecca. Now, why is it the Rebecca riots? Now, reading up this morning of the history websites, they were called Rebecca's daughters. Out of the Bible, Rebecca was married to Isaac, and her son was Jacob. Now, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I don't confess to be, but that's what it says. So the guys of agricultural workers that dressed up as ladies, they didn't know about being transgender back then. We forget about that sort of thing. They dressed up as ladies and attacked the toll workers because they couldn't pay the toll. So they were called Rebecca's daughters. And that's where it comes from. Now you have the Corn Laws, and at the same time, between 1830 and 1840, the agricultural workers were trying to form associations, unions. Now I remember that at school. We learned about the toll puddle martyrs. That's the same region, and about the same taxes and the Corn Laws. And you also had the Chartists. It was all around the same time, 1830, 1840, because the country had no money after the Napoleonic Wars, and the government needed to tax the people, but they overtaxed the people too much money. And we, the people, didn't like it. So today, what have we got? We've got a government that is planning to tax us. They say they're going to put 10p on petrol. Well, what happens about the people that go to work every day? You know, not only now do we have to pay to go into town, say in London, £12.50 a day, we've now got to pay an extra 10p a gallon or 10p a litre on petrol to get into work. That gives us less money for food, less money for electric, less money for gas, less money to go out to the pub. Well, we're at the pub where you can't smoke in the garden anymore, which is inflicting on our freedoms. Now, I can understand banning smoking inside, because people that don't smoke, like me, don't like it. But I wouldn't stop people smoking. I'm not against people smoking in the garden. And if I go out and talk to a friend in the garden, and we have a pipe and they smoke, that's up to them. And there's nothing I can do. If I don't like it, I can go inside the pub or leave. But for the government to start using overreach to control the population, control our freedoms, that is wrong. We fought it throughout history. We now find that you can be put in prison for a Facebook post. Facebook post might be true. It might be something you copied and pasted and shared. But how many people saw your post that you shared on your Facebook page? I think that's also important. Now, if it was millions, you could say, yeah, we got a question, it was false information. But a lot of the time, how do you even know that it's false information. You're getting all this stuff in on Facebook and YouTube and me on here. You know, I try and give you the best information I can from what I found out and how I think about it. Now, if I'm wrong, you put a comment down below and fight me. Well, no, not fight me, but we'll have a debate. That's what it's all about. Freedom of speech and debate. Bill of Rights, 1688. We also have Act of Settlement. The laws of England are the birthright of the people. Our birthright for free speech. Here we go. This is what it's all about. Now, Starmer's trying to stop people on Facebook. They call it non-crime. They try and get it on hate crime. And the other one they use one they used on me. I found out that the pride flag, it's got the rainbow colours there for LBGQ thingy, plus whatever they are now. They just keep adding letters to it. They put a V on it, a black V, and then they had white, blue, light blue, and pink. Now, I remember fighting Pi. Now, Pi was the paedophile information exchange in the 80s. I was a youth worker at the time, and Pi wanted to lower the age of consent from 16 down to 14. They also wanted sex with children okayed if the child agrees under 14. I was totally against that, and everybody agreed with me. And I was lobbying my MP at the time to try and stop it. It didn't get anywhere. Nothing happened, thank God. But now it's raised its ugly head again. And now we've got a Labour Party that's pro-trans, pro-minority groups. And this could come back again. So we're going to be taxed. Our rights are going to be diminished. Our right to free speech on platforms like Facebook and YouTube. Even me on here. Now, I was talking about what happened to me. Sorry, I get off on a tangent every now and again. My brain goes doink. I should have a script really, but if I read from a script, it's like I'm reading, and it doesn't come across as natural. I tried it once, and I put a list up here, and it was going, now, you think this is going to happen to you, and you... Blah, 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 blah. And it was awful. I couldn't use the video. I never posted it. So I've got notes. I got scribbled notes that I got. Basically dates and times and names. And then everything else comes out. I might be wrong. I might be right. It's the way I think. And this is what it is. Freedom of right and debate. Now, what happened to me? The pride flag was put up on the local council saying they were an equal opportunities employer. Now, my way of thinking, which I should have explained on my reply, was that they shouldn't single out a lifestyle because that goes against equality. If they're for an equality employer, then it's for everybody, not single out a lifestyle. And they put the pride flag up. So as I said, the V on it and the V colours, the blue and the pink and the white, are what I think paedophile colours. They're off the paedophile flag from the 80s. The white is transgender. It might be what it's become now. Back then I think it was homosexual. The pink is for a girl, and the light blue is for a boy. And they call the light blue baby blue. Strange, eh? So I said, I just put a quick comment. Now this is a local Facebook group that I run. You know, only 25 people saw this post. People reached, seen by 25 it said on it. I said they should remove the paedophile flag, which is what I called the pride flag, because it's linked to paedophilia. But doing research over the last week, I find that it's not PI anymore, which is the Paedophile Information Exchange. It's now MAP, M-A-P, Minor Attracted Person. They see that it's PR. They're spinning it. Sex with children is wrong. And that's the end of it. It's illegal. It shouldn't be promoted. But I put on there they should remove the paedophile flag. Now the argument would be that it's a pride flag, not a paedophile flag. But it's using paedophile colours. I should have explained myself fully. But I didn't. I just said they should remove the paedophile flag. I get a copper at my door. Like to have a word with you, son, about your Facebook post. What, me? What do you want to have a go at me for? This is malicious communication. How can that be? It's a factual statement. I got the right of free speech and debate. I didn't have a go at anybody. It wasn't aimed at a person. We then find out that the name of the person that added it to the local forum was a sock puppet of some guy. And I suspect that the person that added it to the local group is the person who complained to the police. So I said to the policeman, where's the reply that says they're going to the police? The reply that's having a go at me for my comment and saying they're going to be. So I presume that they have come to you and that's why you're here. They never said a word. I don't know anything about that, sir. Nothing to do with me. Well, it's everything to do with him. He's investigating a crime, alleged malicious communication for a comment on Facebook. It wasn't aimed at anybody. It wasn't personal. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't hate. So then it was a non-crime that they got to investigate. It took 4 months. And in March they came to see me and said that it was anonymous. They didn't know who complained. So if they don't know who complained, why have I just gone through a 4-month investigation by the police? Anyway, at the end of the conversation, he was here for about half an hour. He said, oh, I've spoken to the people who've complained and they've accepted your apology. Because I had to apologise that I didn't mean to offend anybody. Well, I didn't. It wasn't to offend. It was just a fact. It was just a statement. So how can it be anonymous and they can't do anything? And then all of a sudden he knows who they are. That's absolute craziness. And now we have the election in May. Starmer won. And now this ideology of stopping people and free speech has ramped up because the Labour Party don't want you to talk about what they're doing. Now I'm talking about Starmer and his crowd and a tyrannical government. They're going to push the people too far. That's why you've got demonstrations in the street. The criminals are linking to the demonstration. Now, I asked the question before. Are the people that are causing the trouble at these demonstrations linked to the government? And I'm beginning to believe and suspect that they are. We've got to try and stop that. We're an awful peaceful demonstration. We've got the right of free speech. We can't be overtaxed. We're having an hard enough time anyway. We've been through COVID, which means the government's borrowed loads of money, and they've now got to get money back. The Labour's blaming the Conservatives, but at the time, Labour agreed with it all. Labour didn't fight what the Conservatives were doing. They agreed with it. And now the Conservatives are in so much disarray, there's hardly any of them left. You know, they're a shadow of their former selves. They got 6 of them fighting it out to be a leader. And they're not an effective opposition to a tyrannical government. So Labour can get away and do what it likes. So that means it's up to us, the people. We now have to start standing up and talking about what's happening, and be like the Rebecca rioters, the people who followed Wat Tyler, and the barons of 1215. We have to stand up for our rights and our liberties. Ian, Somerset News Network. I've got to say it right. Mum's forced teeth I borrowed today. Ian, Somerset News Network, signing off. And let's just keep talking. Any comments down below? If you think I'm wrong, I just think I'm right. Bye.